everybody, Ron with Unhangry Y'all. We are going to do calzone today. We're going to finish up at least one section of the dough instructions, and we are going to make a calzone. I'm going to do it with some cured meats, some capicola, or as they say back home, gabagool. I got some sweet and I got some hot, and I also have some Genoa salami as well. We're going to throw those in there with some grated mozzarella, whole milk, low moisture, not the fresh stuff, and not that part skim crap that you see at the store at most grocery stores. This is some serious tasty stuff. It's whole milk, low moisture, not the low moisture part skim garbage. We also have some sharp provolone to go with it, and I love the flavor that sharp provolone brings to the table. And I have some seasoned ricotta, which again we call ricotta back home. And I'm going to show you how to form the dough for at least the calzone. It's kind of the same as the way you do a pizza. You just basically form it into a circle like a pizza pie, and then you fold it over after you put the toppings and stuff inside, or the stuffings inside the calzone, whatever you want to call it. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we are. We have the dough underneath the tea towel here. I've got it, as you can see, the counter is floured, and the top of the dough is floured a little bit. So it's been sitting out for a couple hours, about an hour and a half or so, to warm up. I originally had planned on doing this shortly after I'd made the dough, but obviously it's been a couple of weeks, so I ended up putting all of the dough into the freezer. And this one was frozen this morning, and I let it defrost for a few hours there, all by itself, kind of warm up a little bit. And then once it was no longer frozen, but it was still cold, I let it sit on the counter for about an hour and a half. Get some clarification on that. Dusted the counter with some flour. It's been sitting on there. The top is floured as well. We have some water to seal it. This is how I do it. I take a little bit of water on my finger, and I seal half of the calzone to kind of get like a little paste going with the flour and the dough. And when I fold it over, it seals it pretty tight. We have some hot capicola, we have some sweet capicola, and we have some Genoa salami ripped up and shredded in there. We have some ricotta cheese that I have seasoned with some Italian seasoning, a little Greek seasoning, Cavender's, good stuff, and a little garlic salt and some black pepper. So that's going to be really tasty. And then here's the mixture of ricotta, the sharp provolone and the shredded whole milk, low moisture mozzarella. In addition, I have a pan to put it on. I will be forming it, however, on my pizza peel, because it just makes it easier for me to do that, and then I'll transfer it to the pan once it's done, once it's formed and we got it all taken care of. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but I have some fine semolina flour on there. You can use regular flour if you want. I just like the way that the semolina helps it release easier. So fine semolina dusted on the pizza peel. Once I put it on there, you don't want to let it sit on the peel too long, because it will start to stick after a while. It'll start to hydrate with the semolina. But the wood peel is the way to go for pizzas going into the oven, or calzones for my taste. And if you're pulling them out, you want to use a metal peel. The metal peel is a lot thinner, so it gets underneath them easier. But the solid metal peels, the dough tends to stick easier than it does on the wood, especially when you have some like semolina or flour on it. Some people use cornmeal. I don't like it. I like the semolina or the regular flour. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start shaping the dough, and to shape it, it's really simple. It will take you some time to get used to it, shaping dough if you've never done it before. What you want to do is just kind of rim a little bit on the outside of the dough, And it won't be perfect the first time you do it. If it does get perfect, awesome. You're a pro, a natural. But if it isn't perfect the first time you make it, or the first few times you make it, don't stress over it. It's not a big deal. It's just pizza. So, somewhat round, as you can see. And from here, I'm just gonna kind of stretch it out a little bit. This is how I do it. I know some of the more seasoned pizza makers out there will probably be laughing at me, but I don't care because this is mine and it's not theirs. So I'm gonna dust it a little bit because it is getting a little sticky on the top. I'm gonna flip it over. And it is starting to get thin in the middle, so I want to be gentle and not rip it. I have ripped a number of pizzas before, and calzones and other sorts of dough. You'll kind of see, I hope I'm not in the way too much, but you'll kind of see that there are going to be some high spots and some low spots. You just do your best to get the low spots even with, or the high spots even with the low spots. Just thin it out a little bit, being careful not to stretch it too tight or too much at one time, because it will tear if you're not careful. And that's going to be about the size I'm looking for, really. I don't want it too much, and I don't want it too thin in the middle, so there's going to be a little thin spot right there. I just try to tack it together, keep it from sticking too much. So that's going to be, I think, our top, just in case we need a little air out. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the peel, and you just want to do it really quick, as quick as you can. This is this ring I have here is the maximum size dough I can fit on my cast iron griddle that I'm using as a pizza, that I use as a pizza stone. I'm not using it today, so feel free to ignore the ring. I just wanted to let you know what the hell it was, because you're probably looking at it going, what the hell is that? So there you go. Now you know. But when I do the pizza, it'll be more involved in this situation. So, all right, so that's pretty close. That's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and dump in my ricotta, kind of smooth it out a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, because it is gonna melt and spread quite a bit. But I do want to have the base of the calzone coated pretty well without going too close to the edges, because like I just did, because you remember you're going to seal it. Get as much of that in there as I can. Okay, so there is the ricotta. I'm going to go ahead and probably put the cheese down, because that'll melt easier. I'm most likely not going to use all of this mixture, but I will use quite a bit of it. Hopefully you can see that. I hope. Okay. So here's some of that sharp provolone that I threw in there. It comes in a block, and I sliced it off and just cracked off pieces of the slices. And I think I'll finish up with that. Okay. And then we are going to throw in the meat mixture, the shreds of the meat. Again, this is the sweet capicola, the hot capicola, and some Genoa salami. As you can tell, I like my Italian meats. I like a lot of meat on my calzones, and I like a lot of meat on my pizza. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to dip my finger in the water and kind of spread it on the edge here so that it'll help make that paste. And while I'm doing it, I'll try to even some of this out a little bit more. There are other ways you could do this. Some people use a fork to smash the top and the bottom together. I don't like the way that looks. To me, that looks more like a meat pie, a Jamaican meat pie, or pasty or whatever. Um, I like the sealed edge. So here we go. We're going to turn it over, or cover it, I should say. As you can see, it's kind of thin here, so that may end up busting open. And if it does, that's okay. Not a big deal. I don't think stuff will start boiling out of it. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, there's the flour on the counter, and we're going to do this. Get it loose, shake it loose a little bit, and there we go. Now it's on the tray and ready to be thrown in the oven. And I will see you back at the oven. Okay, we are at the oven, and the oven has been preheated at 450 for about 45 minutes to an hour. You can see the calzone is on the sheet pan. It's like a half-quarter sheet pan or something. And we're going to go ahead and throw it in the oven. It's going to go in there for at least 15 minutes, I would say. You can see. And then once it's done cooking, I'll come back with you and you can see the finished product. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, this is my griddle that I use for my pizza pan, or my pizza stone, I guess, in the oven there. There you go, that way you can see it. I got it off Amazon. I think it was like $25, $30. They don't sell this particular one anymore, but if you look for like a 14-inch pizza pan, or cast iron pizza pan, or 14-inch cast iron griddle, a round one, that'll do just fine for you. It's not perfect, but it's a lot, honestly, it's a lot more durable than a pizza stone would be. You can hear it, just the pan just kind of flipped a little bit because of the heat. So hopefully it'll cook evenly, and we will see you soon. Alright, so we're back. As you can see, it's getting some good color on it. It's almost ready. You see it's smoking a little bit. That's some of the semolina on the pan itself, or the sheet, I should say. It'll be just a few more minutes, and then I'll meet you back over at the counter so we can show it to you in full light instead of the oven light, and we'll cut it open and show you its full glory. Alright, we're back at the counter. As you can see, it is completely out of the oven. As I pulled it out of the oven, I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's a little spot right there where it just barely broke loose, and some of the oil from the cheese started spitting out, or oil from the meat, one or the other, started spitting out and hit the pan. It was pretty cool. It does happen from time to time. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to go ahead and put it on that cooling rack for, I don't know, maybe about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, just to kind of let it rest a little bit. It may deflate quite a bit, but look at all that color on there, man. That is beautiful. That is absolutely gorgeous. That is a gorgeous calzone, if I do say so myself. So I will see you back in just a few minutes, and we will cut it open, and see you in a few. And we're back. So it's rested for at least 5 minutes, closer to 10, I guess. I wanted to mention two things. Earlier, the sound might have sounded a little crappy. I forgot to hook my remote microphone back up, so it was just going off the phone mic. That was when I believe I was stretching the dough out and making the actual calzone itself. So I want to apologize for that. Two, the color on here, that is because I let it ferment for at least 5 days. So if you let it ferment overnight, you're probably not going to get this kind of a color. You might get closer to a paler version of this. So don't expect your 1 day dough to look this gorgeous. It'll still be good. It'll still taste good. It will not be this color. It will be a much paler color. I guess maybe around that color right there. This comes from the long ferment, and it kind of breaks down the sugars a little bit more, or the starches a little bit more, I should say. And it just gives it a much better color when you get some heat on it. So, like I said, you will not get this color unless you let it ferment for at least 3 to 5 days. I wouldn't go much more than 5 or 6 before you throw it in the freezer, but 5 days is good, and you'll get that kind of a color. So anyway, so that is, we are going to go ahead and cut it open. Watch that steam come out. Look at that gorgeousness. Can you see that? Look at that beautiful, beautiful mixture of cheese and cured meats. And I got some sauce to go with it over here. I use pasta sauce on my calzone, and I use uncooked pizza sauce on my regular pizzas. So for some reason, I like the way that the extra sweetness and the taste of a cooked sauce goes with a calzone. And for regular pizzas, any type of pizza that I've ever made, Chicago deep dish, Chicago flat crust, New York style, Detroit style, any of that, I always like an uncooked sauce. So we'll talk about that more when I do pizza. I'll do the New York pizza, New York style pizza. But anyway, here we are, and like I said, cooked sauce for calzone for me, my taste, and uncooked sauce for pizza. So that is calzone in a nutshell. If you have any questions or have any comments, let me know. And we will see you next time on I'm Hangry, y'all. Have a great day.